little Camila. She's almost
I'm
one.
recording. I'm
and
recording. I'm recording,
okay.
Martha. Sorry. Welcome, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. I hope everyone is doing fantastically well. It is the 13th of July. It's year 2022, and I think it is full moon as well. So hopefully everyone is going to do their full moon meditation and use the power of the full moon today. And let me move to the panel. Today we welcome April, who is here with us. April is a psychic. She has quite a few different modalities of healing under her belt. I'm sure everyone is very familiar with April being on our Q&A panel for almost the past 2 years. Then we have Marla, who is part of our core group of meditators. Good evening, Marla. Wishing you a speedy recovery, Marla. And then we have Michelle as well, who is part of a core group of meditators. Good evening, Michelle. And Patricia is here as well. Good evening, Patricia. Let me pull up the question. This question comes from Hugh. Let me put the excuse me. So he asked, out of the Q&A, he actually is enjoying our Q&A immensely. And he says, can you ask the panel the do's and don'ts in regards to pain body merging in all relationships? Eckhart said marriages are made in hell, not in heaven. What about friendships? And then I have something about microdosing from Summer, April. I don't know if you're going to stay that long, but let's get your take on this one. Can you ask the panel do's and don'ts in regards to the pain body merging in all relationships?
Do's and don'ts. So they're asking what you should and shouldn't do.
I think he means pain body that exists when he says merging in all relationships. I think he means, what about pain body in other relationships? Yes, Eckhart had talked about partners, right? Or the pain body of our partner. But what about pain body of a child, pain body of another relative, or pain body in another friend, right? Or coworker even. It doesn't even have to be a friend. So other relationships.
Well, I think that the pain body that we all have, I think it shows up in all relationships. It will show up in all relationships to different degrees. So, for example, it might show up the least at work, or the least with grandma, or the least with your child. But then some people, actually, it shows up more at work. So I think it depends on the pain body and on the relationship with the person. So for example, I've seen people where the pain body would show up more at work because it's related to control. Their pain body is related to control and needing control. So at work, if they're put in a position such as a supervisor, you will see a bigger pain body in that area. So I think I think our pain bodies show up in all of our relationships. And marriage being created in hell is, I've heard that talk from Eckhart, and it's basically because we go into marriage having a lot of expectations. That's one of the main points that he's making in there when he makes the joke. And I laughed when he made the joke that You know, you're married and you're happy for 1 hour, then honeymoon, and then already doubt sets in, right? And he giggles, and I giggle too, because it's very true. And that is the hell that he's speaking of, the uncertainty, the attachments, the expectations. And I think those are all true in all of our relationships, including our friendships. Now, friendships tend to have less pain body, but that doesn't mean that they're not existent at all in some people. But the reason that friendship tends to have less is that friendships tend to be more unconditional. So if I have a friend, I can go to the friend and I can give them my opinion, and they don't judge me for that opinion. They're my friend. They accept my opinion. They accept that my opinion's not like theirs. That's okay. But let me do that with my husband, and all of a sudden we have some pain bodies waking up, right? How dare I disagree with him, or how dare he disagree with me? How dare we not agree together, you know, on the same thing? We can't be our individual selves. That's when the pain body wakes up. So friendships do tend to have a less amount of the pain body in most cases. As for the do's and don'ts, basically what I would tell people when I have to do like couples counseling, which I don't do a lot. It's something I can do. However, I like to work individually more than couples or marriage counseling. But what I would try to do is have them create the safe, open environment where I can tell you anything, just as if you were my best friend. I can literally tell you anything. And you don't judge me. You don't all of a sudden have a grudge against me, or you stomp around and you can't believe that I don't like that football team like you. And right. So that's part of it, is creating that unconditional open environment, the safe communication where we're not judging. We're allowed to communicate freely. We accept each other. We listen to each other. If it comes to work and things like that, the things that I've suggested at work is of course, we want to notice our own pain body. And this is where, again, that story comes up. Eckhart talks a lot about the story in the head, the personal identities. And what I will suggest with people is, especially and I'm not trying to be biased, but this is especially true in male dominated fields, where when I'm trying to get somebody to become aware, to become conscious, I will say, the next time you see some power play going on, I want you to just kind of step back. And I want you just to watch it and watch who's trying to exert control, who's trying to be the top person, and just watch it. Just don't play, don't interact, just watch, just stand back and watch. And usually once I can get them to do that, they'll come back to me. And after a few visits, I'll get these statements like, I was watching this one and man, that ego was big. And I was like, yes, there you go. Now you can see their pain body where it's screaming, I'm so big and I'm in control, and you can step back and separate. So that is my suggestion usually when it comes to like work environments. So for the answer, yes, it does bleed into all relationships for the most part. Friendships, it does the least. Family, significant others is usually the more triggering ones. The closer the relationship, the bigger the trigger. The more emotional the response, the more you are attached to the response and to the other person's response, the more pain body you will have. But family and significant others, close loved ones, those are usually the more triggering in relationships. So you have to be more aware, more conscious.
April, how does the soul contract, does that apply here at all?
Mhm. The soul contract actually applies in everything in your life. We do have some free will as far as, you know, if there is a certain plan that you have picked and you are a certain lesson that you have picked. Now, whether you choose to go be, I'll just use a random example. You choose to go be a hairdresser or you choose to go be a chef. That lesson is still going to play out in some way or another because that's these main ones that you picked. It doesn't matter if you choose to get married or you don't choose to get married, that lesson will still play out some way, somehow. When it comes to our close relationships, the soul plan is always involved. Every person that comes into your life is part of that soul plan. And the ones that give us the bigger pain body, those are most definitely on purpose. They're meant to give you that big pain body to work through. They're meant to do that because your soul said, like mine, oh, you want to work on all your karma? Okay, we're going to have 5 children plus a niece plus grandchildren plus. Okay, you got the opportunity to work all this out. So each one of these people, and I have this thing too, where like my daughter's friends will be like, they'll call me mom. So that's another soul. I'm like, so because my main goal was apparently to work out karma or to heal people or whatever. So all of this, so in the beginning, I had to have this huge pain body and I had to go through these things. And my belief is that my pain body, once you can recognize it and start healing from it, what it does is it helps you to relate to others. It helps you to see where they are on their journey, and it helps you to heal them. That's the purpose of the pain body.
And what about the individual, like the spouse? Was that also a big part of your self contract about men in your life?
Yeah, it has to be. There's no one in your life that's not in the soul
Soul
contract.
contract.
Yeah. There's
Father,
no,
mother, brother, sister, everything, right?
even down to animals. And I thought this the other day. I had a person that walked by me, and I can't remember the exact scenario or all I remember is the person walked by me, and as they walked by me, I could see me in them. And I thought, that was done on purpose. So even that person is a soul contract. And I didn't know the person. And it was literally like just watching them just walk by me. And I was like, oh, okay. That's still a soul contract. It's all, especially your more difficult relationships are definitely in your soul contract.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, April. And since Marla and April have to leave early, April, I'm going to direct another question at you. And then we'll move to Marla before I start with Caesar and Michelle and Patricia. So this question has been lingering with Summer, which is something about teenagers and 20-something have eased their suffering through a lot of bong hits daily. Alcohol is not their self-help drug of choice, but pot seems to be. They self-medicate their depression and neurosis and their overthinking brain. Meditating would be a better option, but it's severely depressed. They can't help themselves. So she wants to hear the solutions instead of drug industry. What are the negative side effects from us? And what about ayahuasca, mushroom guided? And today she wrote something about microdosing. Is that recommended or not? And I will speak, I'll let you speak, April, and then go to Marla. Thank you.
So as far as drugs have actually, it's not this generation. It is this generation, but it's not this generation. Drugs have been here for a long time. Do we not remember that many people's their brains burnt out on acid in the 60s? Do we not remember that? It's not a new thing. I had a person that it was my mom's best friend's husband, right? He was older than me, obviously. He was my mom's age. And he was telling me what it was like to go to school, high school in the 70s. And he said that he had to actually drop out of school to get sober. There were so many drugs. So it's not a new thing. It is an escape. And many, many, many people use drugs to escape their feelings. And because we as a society still do not know how to deal with emotions. We still have not figured out that emotions are just an energy state that run through the body. That, like Eckhart says, they are not us. They're not our identity. They're not who we are. Like Deepak says, we are literally one emotion after the other, walking around pretending we don't have any. That was the most perfect statement I've ever heard. We are literally one emotion after another, walking around like we don't have any. We have not learned how to deal with our emotions. That's why people, so I did a research as I was getting my master's, and my research was, why do people become addicted? Because most teenagers try drugs at some point or another. They try weed, or they try alcohol, or they try a cigarette, but what makes an addict? And what I found was that one, there was a genetic disposition, meaning it ran in their family. Two, they had issues in their lives. They had abuse, they had neglect, they had something like that. And then three, they had some sort of mental health or emotional issue. Those were the reasons that they didn't just try it, they kept using it. So they're using it as a coping skill. So it does make them depressed. All drugs make people depressed. Alcohol is actually a depressant. It is not a happy drug. Marijuana is actually a depressant. Marijuana is also a hallucinogen. So many people have the overthinking brain, and what happens is when you try drugs and you have like anxiety and you have an overthinking brain, the minute that you take that drug and your brain feels that relief, the very next time you feel that sensation of overthinking, your brain says, oh wait, we did that, go do that, go do that, go do it again, do it again. Now we have a dependence. That's what happens. Now, I do think there are many other solutions to spiritual healing, the spiritual journey. I have sent many people to look up Eckhart Tolle and what he teaches about thinking as coping skills. Now, the ayahuasca, many people have done that. It's been perfectly fine. Mushrooms, things like that. If you do it with a guided person, with a shaman, you don't need to do those drugs though to become okay or healed or spiritual. You can reach source without these drugs. You don't need them. And she said it's not for hippies anymore. It's not, but however, like ayahuasca, you're going to get sick when you take it. Every time you're going to get sick. It brings up, and so it's not something that I am very fond of. I don't choose to do that. So I'm not going to do that. I feel like you could practice other, like Joe Dispenza's meditations, and you could hit that gamma state and you don't need ayahuasca. So, and then what was her other one, Poonam?
She asked on Messenger today, she asked, I'm just watching this show
The-
about microdosing. One of the many of same explanations how in the 60s it worked against depression. But
now it is very effective.
And
There
so she
are-
says,
yeah.
now that they figured out how to tax and make pot legal, I wonder if they
Right.
would revisit the efficacy of acid microdosing for a more superior supportive consciousness. I don't think any of these drugs make a more superior supportive consciousness,
don't.
even though Ron
No.
does say he loved his LSD trips, right? That took him-
However, they damage the brain.
Mhm.
Marijuana also damages the brain, kills brain cells. Marijuana, weed is a depressant, but it's also a hallucinogen, and the hallucinogen part is the part that kills the brain cells. So acid kills the brain cells. So it is not my recommendation. However, I'm aware of it, and there are some people that have some awesome experiences on ayahuasca and other psychedelics with a trained guide, and it's, that's okay. My suggestion though would be to do more deeper meditation than this. And the microdosing, I have heard of psychedelics for depression. However, it's not something that I'm extremely trained in, but again, I would probably try alternative methods such as there's brain mapping, which uses sound, which everything is sound, everything's frequency. You could use magnetic therapy. You could use sound therapy. I would go that route before I would go with the psychedelics. But that's me.
You are incredibly amazing. Infinite gratitude, April, that you have personal commitments, but you and Marla have shown up. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Cannot say enough thanks to both of you. So I'll move to Marla before I don't want to continue conversation with April. I want to give you time, Marla, in case you drop off early. Do you want to talk about the pain body or this drug question? What do you think of the microdosing?
Well, the drug question, I've always said no, except one. I tried it once, nothing happened. I pot once, pot brownies did nothing when I was 19 years old. So then the next time I tried it, it's an hallucinogen, and I didn't like it. I prefer to have my feet grounded in reality. Reality is what's safe for me because I trust the universe. And I guess even then I did. So I don't know, in rare instances, in specific situations, possibly, but boy, it would never be my first choice ever. Running away from feelings is exactly the opposite of what one needs to do. And I get what you're saying about all relationships involve the pain body. And to move on to that question, it is much easier to see the pain body in somebody else because we don't have an investment in that, personal investment in that. In our own pain body, we tend to justify it to ourselves. And so we sometimes just don't see it because we think it's somebody else. And I'm only speaking from my own experience here, really. And I've had a fair amount of experience with the pain body. I haven't had much lately, but it's easing off because I've learned to trust and be able to deal with it. But the do's and the don'ts, that's what I focused in on here. Well, the do's, you do want to welcome it and see it. What you want to welcome is the feelings that come when your pain body is aroused. You don't want to analyze it and try to figure out why. You don't want to do that. You want to take that feeling when you're in a situation that you can. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, you have to just be quiet and deal with the interaction in a peaceful way. But then when you can't, those feelings are still there. That's when you can embrace them. That's the term I've used, is embrace the feelings, walk towards them, embrace them and go, okay, what's going on here? What's going on? And that doesn't involve the brain. It involves telling, if you will, kind of a parent-child analogy, telling your pain that it's okay, that you're going to let that pain happen. It's okay. You can hurt as much as you need to hurt and cry as much as you need to cry. Just welcome it, because it will pass. It will pass. It will pass through. It's like, it took me a long time, many years, to get that whole concept, to put all those pieces together. I was always afraid of big feelings because I had them stored up and they would come and they would overwhelm me. And so I would distract myself, but that was, all that did was add more to it. So when I got into a situation, a life situation where I wasn't totally being triggered all the time, living in that pain body, then I could think about it, really think about it, and realize, put these pieces together and see that the emotion is just needs to be released. It's coming up because it needs to be released. And so it's kind of like a volcano. It kind of comes up and it bounces like that. And if you go, then it can come and flow out. And that's how we need to approach. That's the do that we need to approach our own pain body. I've made the mistake of identifying somebody else's pain body for them. Ooh, you don't want to do that. That's a don't. You don't want to say, hey, your pain body. No, 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 no. That's a don't. The other don't is you don't want to talk about it to that person unless you really have one of those wonderful relationships that Poonam was talking about earlier, where you can say anything. And in that case, the relationship where probably wouldn't be triggering a lot of the pain body. Let's see. Do welcome it. Do trust. That's the thing. Trust the reality that it's coming forth and needs to be released. And it won't hurt you. It's pain, but it doesn't hurt you. It doesn't damage you. It's like giving birth, It's like giving birth. It hurts, but it's not because it's damaging your body. It's giving birth, it's giving life. So that's the way I have thought about it in order to be able to accept that. And I think that might be where I want to stop.
If something comes up, just raise your hand and have us come back to you, Marla, because you may get something pop up in your mind, right? I know this is like too early in the conversation to ask you about things, but if something pops up, because you always have some wisdom, just like in our group meditations, towards the end, you'll say something so deep that it's very extremely helpful. Okay. So thank you so much, Marla. So when April was speaking about the whole or when April was speaking, I got reminded of this Rupert Spira video where he gives this experience of his. I think there is some in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, he knows a person, a scientist named Kasparov or something. There are conversations with Kasparov and Rupert Spira on YouTube. So one day, Kasparov, they're very good friends, Rupert Spira and this person, Kasparov, are very good friends. So Kasparov tells him, when Rupert is in Amsterdam, he says, I want to take you to that place in Amsterdam. You've seen the nice places in Amsterdam. You've gone from the hotel room to your event site, from the hotel room to the event site. you've gone to the nice places in Amsterdam. Let me take you to the real Amsterdam, which is like some north, like in Dallas, we would say, let's go to South Dallas and I'll show you the real Dallas, right? So there's always, every city has a Martin Luther King Boulevard, right? But you don't want to be around the Martin Luther King Boulevard. So Rupert says, so there was some kind of festivity going on. And in that festivity, like a carnival, there was this, I know y'all may have seen like in a Six Flags thing where they take you all the way up and then drop you. And so Rupert says they walked through this carnival and they saw so many people, human beings going all the way up and then being dropped. And what is that? Rupert says, that is the person wanting to be so close to death that they come in contact with who they truly are, their true essence, right? So every person that is going through he was trying to explain this whole thing about, just like Eckhart says, right? Some people take on extreme sports to get to the death, die before you die, kind of that death, so that they can experience the whole pure awareness in that minute that they're being dropped. I think the fear of death like completely annihilates their false self, their ego, and then they know who they truly are. And it feels like that exuberant joy, right? Because that's what it is. That formlessness gives that spurt. I can just experience it with them. Like even the visual makes me experience that joy that you're being dropped and there's fear. And in that fear, there's like exuberant joy, right? So he says he sees the carnival and so Rupert is explaining, then he walks a little bit more. He sees people at church, right? Then he walks a little bit more and then they have a beer. He walks a little bit more and they go through this whole district where there are prostitutes and women in glass doors and naked women, almost like very provocative and suggestive. And then there are men, they're very sheepish around these women, and then they're going inside and the curtains close. And then they walk a little bit more and they come to the drug, where they do drugs, right, in Amsterdam. So Rupert says, what is common between each one of them? The person that was, and this was like, I almost got like tears of joy. What is common between each one of them? The person that is being dropped from that bungee, whatever that carnival thing is, to the person that is in church, that is giving up themselves in devotion to God and just experiencing God in church, to this prostitute, these men that are being with the prostitute to have a physical relationship to get that peak state, right? To this person that is trying to do drugs to get that peak state. Each one is looking for happiness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That can be found just by being in the here and the now, like just being ourselves, being in the meditative state, and you are already in a state of happiness. Happiness is our true nature. We are joy. So none of this ayahuasca or the mushrooms or any of this is needed. The one thing I would say that we need to, since she said 20 somethings, is we need to look at why is the younger generation so addicted. And I'll go into the whole, by the time we come to Patricia, we talk about the medical medium, why we are addicted, right? Go ahead, Caesar. You want to talk about both topics? Thank you.
Sure. So the first one was
On the pain body.
the pain body. Okay, yep, merging with in a relationship. Interesting.
And I think he means the do's and don'ts in regards to pain body emerging in all relationships.
Yeah.
Now I understood. So that's what it is missing. Thank you.
So I've had this experience on two different fronts. One was a relationship where one of us was conscious and one wasn't. And so that was, in a sense, always, it was debilitating, I guess I could say, for the relationship. On the other hand, in a relationship where two people are on the same journey and they're both aware of what the pain body is, it becomes very supportive to the journey. Like April was saying, it's there for a reason. You know, these things, all these encounters happen for a reason, part of the soul contracts. And we use them to help us grow, you know, spiritually. And when two people are on the same page and they're both aware of this pain body, it seems like it gets dissolved a lot quicker when you have two people both aware. And Eckhart always says too, it's, you know, in a relationship, it's not really sustainable if one person is conscious and one's not. Either they will awaken with you or they will simply just, you know, go away. Rarely does a relationship work when it's one-sided like that, when one person is conscious and the other isn't. So they're either going to mend and get with the program or just go. And I found that to be true as well. Yeah, so I mean, I think April pretty much touched up on that pretty good. I don't think I have anything else to add to the pain body one. As far as the other one here, that was with the drugs. Yeah, teenager. So okay, bong hits. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I was a pot smoker for 20 years. I used it recreationally. I dabbled and dabbled with mushrooms back in the day as well, in the 80s, on a few occasions. And I can see where it could be of a benefit if this is guided and in a controlled setting. I believe Eckhart said he did this a few times. Yeah. So I could see the benefits of that. But then again, bouncing back to what April said, you don't really need that to get in tune with what you're looking for, because it is available to you in the here and now, always. However, this is kind of like, I view it as like a little jump start of sorts. You know, but it's got to be explained almost in detail, so you know what you're in for, and what is, you know, I'm sure there's like an interrogation process before this is happening. You know, what is your intentions, you know, going into a session like that. As far as other drugs, you know, marijuana is a depressant, alcohol is a depressant. I don't think they're very helpful in any way, shape, or form. Marijuana is just like, you know, I denied the fact that it is a gateway drug, because it's all I've ever done, you know, for years and years and years. But I've come to find out and learn that in this day and age and this generation that is among us is experimenting with a whole lot of other crazy stuff nowadays that I had no idea even existed. So that's a very touchy thing. I mean, as we know, we got a serious opioid or opiate and fentanyl problem on this planet. I wouldn't even say in this country, and it's very sad. It touches my heart. As far as oh, she just took off. All right. You get back to the question here.
Sorry about the distraction, Caesar. Couldn't
Yeah,
help it.
that's
He
okay.
was too cute.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, so I mean, you know, the mushrooms, the guided trips, yeah, yes and no. But again, it all starts with intent. What is your intention? Why are you doing this? you know, do your research. If you are going to do it, do your research on the person given the experience. Um, they almost have to be an MD, like in my book, they would have to be anyways, to know proper dosage and stuff like that. Um, yeah, I see weed smokers everywhere I go. I'm just outside of Detroit, and people here just, I mean, you go to a party store and there's 10 kids out there smoking weed. You go to a nice restaurant and you walk into the bathroom and it smells like weed. It's like frequent and everywhere. I mean, it's just everywhere here where I'm at, anyways. And it stinks because, you know, at that age, the younger generation, you know, teenage years, early 20s, these are the same kids that sit at home and do nothing all day, you know, because weed does slow you down. It's a fact, you know, you kind of get like in this mellow state. And could it be used for a spiritual jumpstart of sorts, you know, to help you meditate, to help you go within? I believe so. But the recreational use of it tends to weigh us down. And at that point, it becomes more of a negative thing than a positive thing. So in moderation, perhaps, and if you use it as a medicinal um, purpose, then okay. But any solutions? Yeah. So that's really about it. Self-medicating, yeah, it's a terrible thing these days. But you know that's going to start at in the home at a young age, I believe, and it's got everything to do with the parents, in my opinion. And not, you know, I see what I'm seeing out in this world today is a whole lot of kids doing a whole lot of nothing. It's cell phones and video games, you know, and we're all in that same era where, you know, we didn't have cell phones and video games when we were coming up, and it was about socializing in person. Um, you know, and there was a huge benefit to that. And, you know, social media has its, um, you know, pros and cons, I suppose. But it's, as far as the drug thing, I think it really honestly starts in the home. Parents must stay aware. I mean, it's going to take a conscious person to raise a conscious child. That's not to say that that child will not eventually, like most of us have done, grow up and become just that. Um, but oh, what a beautiful world it would be. And it still is. I'm not saying it's not a beautiful world, but what a different looking world it would be if you know, kids were actually being raised like this by somebody conscious. And you know, you're watching what you interject and subject them to as far as TV and things like that. And, you know, you're paying attention a little more. And the kids, when confronted with drugs, represented with drugs, you um, know better to even go there, because so many kids today are just falling into that, you know, I want to fit in type of a thing. And drugs are much more available today, I believe, than they have ever were, in this country for sure. And it's not just your marijuana and pills anymore. It's, you know, they've graduated to ketamine, which is something that the vets use to take horses and cattle to put them under. And the kids are playing with that. And, you know, mushrooms are widely available everywhere. Marijuana everywhere. I mean, it's legal here. Um,
What is a mushroom, Caesar?
so a mushroom is like a psychedelic. Um,
Because mushroom is a fungi that we eat as well, right?
correct.
I eat a
Correct.
lot of mushrooms. So
It's
when
a
somebody says, "Are you doing mushrooms?" I am doing mushrooms.
well, they need to specify magic mushrooms. It's more in the lines of I think like PCP or something like this, or LSD, one of the two.
Okay.
It falls in one of them two categories, I'm sure.
So it's
But
just
it is.
a common name for some kind of drug.
Pardon me.
It's a common name for some kind of drug.
Mushrooms.
It's not the
Yes,
fungi. It's not the
it
like.
is.
It's not the.
It is actually a mushroom. It is literally a particular kind of mushroom. Yes,
Okay.
it's actually a mushroom.
Okay.
Yep. They refer to them as magic mushrooms. And in the same form, others in a guided session, like what they were talking about, the ayahuasca is, like I said, either LSD that they refer to it as, or PCP. Which one, Michelle, you act like you know over there, is it LSD or PCP mushrooms?
No,
Oh.
no, I don't. I just know because I listen to Ram Dass all the time, and his backstory is a lot. That was his glimpse into consciousness that kickstarted it for him. Yeah, I think he started with mushrooms with Tom Leary, if I'm not mistaken, and then went into LSD.
Yeah.
And was
yep.
heavily into it.
Yeah.
But as he aged, because he was asked that question a lot, I don't think he has any regrets about it. And he did repeatedly. I mean, what he analyzed at the end is you go up, and just like in the carnival ride, or when you have an orgasm or whatever, all those catches, right, is you come down. So the trick is to be able to get into those states of consciousness without an attachment to anything. So at the end of the day, he realized that anytime I'm going to go up, I'm going to come down, and I'm tired of this. And so, but he still admits when he was older in life that it was something that he recognized was the catalyst for him to come in. For him, it was his dharma, right? This is what he had to go through in order to get where he was. So I guess for him, it was a blessing in disguise, you know. And even his stroke was a blessing in disguise. And whether or not the overuse of drugs had anything, I don't know. But, you know, but I think I agree. I think at the end of the day is that, you know, anything that we use that's external of ourselves to get to that heightened state of consciousness is ultimately we have to drop it.
Yeah, I so agree. And as a jump starter, perhaps yes, but there was a line of addiction as far as Ram Dass goes in that same very sense. And absolutely, you know, what goes up must come down. That's law of physics, and it is applied to everything. And I love his teachings, you know, how he's just so even keel, and that's kind of what he teaches anymore. But yeah, that's beautiful, great explanation. So yeah, I mean, the people
and
that
then I'm curious also because mushroom is in nature, and you know, so many ancient cultures used it as a method within their own cultures to reach this, maybe, you know. So I'm always curious. I've never been attracted to drug use, or I mean, you know, when you're in college or whatever, you know, yeah, you know, you smoke one or whatever, but it was not something that I continued to do, nor was I ever attracted to. You know, like Marla, I wanted to feel grounded and, you know, part of that control, letting, you know, so, but I'm more open to the conversation as I've gotten older. I was more judgmental about it, but as I've gotten older, you know, listening to other people, you know, how it's helped them to a certain degree, but it's a fine line there, you know, because it can grab you and become addicted, and then you really want to escape, right?
Absolutely.
So
my experience when I had taken it in my early teenage years was a whole nother dimension. And it wasn't for years later that I realized that it actually was another dimension. It wasn't just a little. And now even talking to people that I know still dabble in it on a spiritual end, describe the same, basically fifth dimension. And it really opens up your ability to see things as they are. And it's quite a different reality under the influence of the mushrooms or LSD, whatever, than it is without it. But it is an eye opener, and it was, you know, looking back, and it was because again, so I can touch the little, you know, spaces that I experienced back then now without anything. And that's preferred. So, but that's it.
Thank you so much, Caesar. So we talked about the pain body, and they almost seem interrelated, right? The reason why a younger person will go for, it is incredible. Always there are two separate questions from two different people on the Facebook Live Q&A. But towards the end, we kind of figure out that they're almost very interrelated, right? Because the young person, or whoever this person is that is wanting to relieve themselves from using drug, what are they running away from? A heavy pain body. Their pain body is so heavy that they cannot deal with the emotions. They don't know how to. I was listening to Oprah has this Life You Want class, which she hosts per month. She hosts a speaker, and yesterday was a speaker on forgiveness. And the speaker was saying that what we need to teach the younger generation is to give words to, who was talking about it, either April or Marla, that we need to give them words to use for their emotions so that they can process their emotions correctly. Instead of saying, oh, go apologize to this person, instead of just saying, go say sorry, explain to them their emotions, because that will help. So we've taught our children to, not only did we learn how to stuff our emotions, we've taught our children to stuff their emotions. Then look at the so what is a pain body? The pain body of the culture that you grew up in, right? If your child is suffering a pain body, heavy pain body, they're suffering the pain body of the culture that they grew up in, the environment that they're growing up in. Look at the wars that are going on, right? 2 world wars, 6 million Jews killed. What all did we do to this planet? All that collective consciousness is on every youngster right now. Look at all the mass shootings, the sorrow of all the going to war in Iran and Iraq, the North Korea, whatever's going on, China, the way they tortured, Soviet Union, the way they tortured their people. I mean, look at the pain and suffering on this planet. How can any human being, no matter what culture you grew up in, not have a pain body, right? And pain body is not personal. It is the collective pain body that we are already born with. Like the other perforated circle, right? Outside the perforated, like outside our mind, there's this beautiful video that Rupert has of trauma existing outside our waking mind, right? And that trauma is the trauma of the collective trauma. Like how much have women be, like Eckhart says in chapter 5 of A New Earth, right? Chapter 5 of A New Earth should be read like about 50, 60 times by every person to understand the pain body. Like all Native Americans, why do they have a heavy pain body? African Americans, why do they have a heavy pain body? People from India, why do they have a heavy pain body, right? We've been ruled by different nations, nationalities, different countries, 100 years of British rule. We would have the heavy pain body of being ruled by others, right? There were people, Muslims, Mughals that came from Persia that ruled over us. How much have we been ruled? People from India. So South Asia, not only India, I would say Pakistan and Bangladesh, because they come under the same area. And I think even in Cambodia, Eckhart says there was some kind of mass killing, right? In Cambodia, some ruler of theirs, Sadhguru said that in China, when they had this edict that only 1 child per family, they actually, if you got pregnant, they gave iodine to the second child and killed it, right? Look at how torturous we've been, how cruel and heartless humanity has been.
Well, I think that one of the lessons for all of us is compassion
Mhm.
and acceptance. Absolutely. I mean, you can look at it and say that was a horrible action and a horrible behavior, but that doesn't address the issue. The issue is how our hearts feel and how our hearts react, not a judgment about how terrible the situation is. And I was going to address the fact that a lot of the younger generation, and I was there once, I was there, Caesar, right along with you. I don't think you're 70 years old, but I was there in the 60s. I graduated high school in 66, and it was just starting. And when I was in college till 72, it was hot and heavy. And what I see when I look, and my education is in human growth and development, because I always was intensely curious about how do we grow and change as through life. And I mean, it's what I see is that children have very limited experience, and they tend to take things personally. It's about them. Everything is about them. I mean, the younger, that's true. The younger, it's about them. And when they're told no with this kind of a hand, it's like, oh, I did something wrong. It's like it's a natural kind of a reaction, and it's kind of the beginning of the pain body development when they are criticized and they feel like, oh, I did bad. That was my pain body. I can never do anything right. What? I look at it and I go, what? Maybe I needed that in order to become who I am. But what I know is that they don't have any tools. And this culture in this particular time wants immediate gratification. We're not willing to go through therapy for 2 years to get better. We want to feel better now. And that's what drugs do. And that's what alcohol does. And that I just want to feel better, period. And that's a youth reaction uh, until they realize or are taught by parents who maybe were at the same boat, that it's a vicious circle. And the mindfulness teaching in school hopefully will help. And just giving words. There's a movie, an animated movie called In and Out, I think. Do you know it, Michelle? Do you know what the name of it is? It's like these little, there's a character of anger and there's a character of happiness. And do you remember the name of it, Michelle?
Inside Out?
Yes, that's it. Inside Out. Inside Out. And that's what we need to teach children, is how to move what's inside to the outside. And that movie, my students, when I was teaching in class, I was teaching a development class, and we were talking about emotional social development in young children, and they're the ones that told me about that movie. I never had words to explain my feelings. I never did. My mom just thought I was lazy when I was depressed. She thought I was selfish when I argued for what I wanted. She put these words on me and I accepted them. And because that's how it looked to her. And that's how her parents said. So it's like Inside Out is a beautiful little movie that can start a conversation in a very gentle way. It's a lovely, lovely little movie. I think we all should watch it, along with my other favorite movie, which is The Never Ending Story. The Never Ending Story. I watched it probably 10 times, and for a long time I didn't get what it was about, but I knew it was important. now I get what it's about. So I just think that drugs are a not very healthy way to deal with your feelings. And
Beautiful.
what marijuana did for me, I thought it distorted reality. I think they distort reality. And I suppose you can be distorted by moving to a higher dimension, but I couldn't quite trust that. You know, I needed to feel grounded. I needed to be in control. So grounding made me feel in control. At least I know what I'm seeing is what I'm really seeing. So at least the way I could understand it then. That's all.
Thank
I
you,
love the
Marla.
way you put that really quick. For most people, including myself, why I had a short addiction to drugs. It wasn't the way that I didn't like the way it made me feel. I liked the way they made me not feel. So Mark, yeah,
Yes.
you just really put an exclamation mark on it. Yeah, well explained. Thank you.
That's right. It numbs it. It numbs it. It takes you into a different space inside. And it can be short, but it's not long lasting. So
I have no experience in this field. I have not even had alcohol or smoked cigarette, so I have no experience. So I cannot speak on this topic at all.
good for you, Poonam. You don't want to give it a try. It's not worth a try.
Exactly. And from the likes of it, the fact that Caesar said what he said, it's not even worth it.
No, I tried really hard when I was a waitress. We weren't servers back then. We were waitresses. I tried really hard to enjoy cigarette smoking because that's what you did. You came in, you delivered your tray, you came in and you puffed, and then you went back out. And all I did was get sick. You know? And I was so grateful that I got sick. And then I learned that people who experience a high from that are more likely to get addicted. Well, duh, common sense. And alcohol, I tried it in a very reckless way, and I also got sick. So really, really sick.
So this is where Eckhart's teachings help Marla, and Caesar. That Eckhart says he has so much, about parent-child. The reason why the child is saying that is having a tantrum, or the child is kind of saying, "Give me your presents, give me your presents," right? So if the parent would have given the child enough presents, the child would never do drugs, right?
If that is true presence, and if
they were truly given presents and taught,
and if they were
present.
taught the words to express what they're feeling, if they had a
Yes.
presence with a deep empathy for the child,
Yes.
and then you can say, "Oh, I bet you're feeling sad."
Exactly.
You
Like
know,
they would have allowed their child to process their emotions
right, exactly.
and work
To them
through that.
about it, and not
I have
judge.
to disagree with that one.
You
I
disagree?
was, yeah, I was the kid that got all the attention and felt that love and great communication, and they taught me to be in touch with my feelings, and there was a lot of love and bonding and communication.
But
So
still you had some kind of, the reason why we look for an external thing to satisfy ourselves is we're saying, I'm coming from a sense of lack and incompleteness. So give me the car, give me the big house, give me the partner that is going to make me happy. Give me the big house, give me the big title at corporate America that would make me happy, or give me the drug.
Well,
Just replace.
almost like one or the other.
I'm really curious, Caesar. If that's true, then what was it that was missing for you?
I'm not sure anything was missing at that point in my life. I was 100% happy, and never did put my finger on it, because in my perspective of what it was why that, and I had talked to counselors about it too. I was married with 3 beautiful children, had the nice house with the picket fence, worked, and everything was absolutely perfect in my life. Looking back then and now. So I don't really have an answer on how or why something was missing. But I've had people tell me there was something missing or you wouldn't have.
What
But
was,
I don't.
Was it your connection with yourself?
yeah, what was missing was his presence. You were missing your presence power.
Now that was that I will say 100% yes.
Yeah.
You were
I can
unconscious.
say nobody ever goes in to say, you know, I'm going to be addicted to drugs. It starts off with the tampering of such.
Yeah.
And I think when they realize it's the escape from the reality, as you were putting it, you know, they make the way you like the way the drugs make you not feel. And then that's when they're replacing something or the lack of, right?
And they'll just go from, oh, I'll do a little bit of recreation and what do
Exactly.
you
And
call
it
it?
turns
Maybe
into
a
a
pinch
monster.
of it, maybe then go to 2 pounds of it, then go to 4 pounds of it. Then I'm just saying, I
Yeah.
don't even know
That's
how
a
it's
lot.
cut,
Yeah.
whatever. But
Holy cow.
you know, you would just go increasing.
Yes.
I mean, look at the stories of who was that singer, Whitney Houston. I mean, she
So
was
many.
such an incredible, like on this planet, there was not a voice like hers, and she
I so
ruined her
agree.
life. She ruined her life just doing this thing right out of her addiction. She
Well,
ruined.
a lot of it had to do with her abusive relationship too, and the pain body. That
Yeah,
was,
but if you look around, if you compare, like all you see is these people that have had huge amounts of success in their careers that are like Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Elvis Presley,
Go on forever.
right? They go on forever. And they're getting so much fame, but at the same time, there's so much codependency and with other relationships. Like Elvis Presley, the movie came out and I went to watch it, and you could see that
Yeah.
they have such a gift, you know, that,
But you
and then people around them, right, are bottom feeders that wanna, you know, and they get torn down, they get pulled down.
But don't you think it was all part of the bigger plan?
Mhm.
Yes.
You know, I'm grateful I experienced what I did because I still have friends that are battling through, you know, serious drug addictions or alcohol addictions, and now I can at least relate.
Yeah.
And it had it not been for that path, I don't know if I'd be on this path where I'm at now. So it was all, you know, part of the grid filling in.
you know, one
And
of the things
I had to
that
go back and change anything. I could honestly tell you I wouldn't change nothing. I'm grateful for every bit of it. Them that I learned my greatest lessons from them, you know, them times.
I think there's a, like now that I'm like listening to all of this conversation, there's a reason why that was your path, Caesar, because maybe you're able to reach a certain population that I couldn't, right? And my path is dealing with disability and my son with his disability, and someone else's path maybe, you know, sexual abuse, and another person's path is, you know, harassment, you know, and everybody can pull from that experience. I mean, even though maybe drugs, it's a path of choice because you've decided to consume it or whatever, but it doesn't matter. At the end, it all brings you to, you know, if you're able to use it as grist for the mill, right? As the expression goes, you know, then it's all for good.
Yeah. And one thing I learned over the years too is that, you know, addiction comes in many different forms. Food,
Yep,
shopping,
for sure.
you know, where other people, you know, that's socially acceptable, but it's still a major problem because what it is it's an escape at the end of the day. They're replacing their presence power with the need to take their mind elsewhere on and place it on the addiction. And that's their escape from the present moment, which they think is scary. At the end of the day, that's what I mean. Poonam, you just nailed it right on the head. What was I lacking? I was lacking presence power. I was lacking presence, period.
well,
And
I
that
think
was,
one of
yeah.
the common things that I see from my own experience is I'm very in tune to people's insecurities. When people feel insecure, I know it, and I see it in myself sometimes. At the moment, it's not there, but it has been sometimes in this group or in my other group. And I think that, and I see that in the really famous, rich, powerful people. Think how insecure Trump is. Just think about how insecure that man is. He has built his entire being around himself, and he's hanging on to it with desperation. And I think I saw it in Whitney Houston. I definitely saw it in Elvis Presley in his later years. You mentioned that, Michelle. And I just, it's a deep insecurity. And it goes back to the book that Poonam wrote on not misconceptions, but on the fact that we feel a lack within. We feel a lack within, and that's the insecurity of it. And
lacking in completeness, the sense of lacking in completeness when we are not in our presence power.
And what's really interesting is that my mother, it all comes back to her after all, right? I'm joking. But my mother used to say about my father, who she was very bitter against, she said, oh, he was always just so insecure. So insecure. Like that was a bad thing. Well, she was projecting very clearly. And she passed that right down to me. She never could understand why I was so self-conscious. I mean, it's just amazing how these things.
Conditioned patterns of the past, karmic accumulation. Given from generation to generation. Michelle, if you have something else, I wanted to go to Patricia. So do you have anything else?
I wanted to address the pain body because I think I have a kind of a different perspective. I think in your closest relationships, this is what our practice at home. I mean, we do let each other know when our pain bodies have been activated with my husband. I mean, that's something that we do talk about. And at the beginning, it was a little bit more reactivity, but now, and it's how you communicate it. So I try to give a lot of context to our conversations so that it's not, because I said, it happens to me too. It's not like, it's not done in a way to point the finger. It's more about, this is what's happening. You know what I mean? And when you do, like, building that awareness so that it can be diffused, you know what I mean? Much quicker. And, I mean, we've been in a marriage for over 32 years. And it was not, there was a lot of pain body there, believe me. I mean, we were just blessed to be able to kind of work through each other's, things of the relationship, right? Like everybody does, and there were many times where we could have not have made it, but we worked through it. And luckily, we chose the same path in terms of being able to listen to different spiritual teachers. We're never religious, but very in tuned in that way. So right now we do try to have that kind of relationship where we're able to call each other out, but in a very respectful way. So I think that's something that if you're in a trusting relationship, it's not something that I necessarily do with other people, but we definitely do it. And this morning was one of the mornings, he was dealing with something and I just, we talked about it, So I think that's something that can be done, but it's always in the how it's done, right? We want to make sure that we're doing it in a loving way. And for me, some of the do's, yes, definitely take a look at it and honor it. But I do like to see where it's coming from. I mean, I want to know, like, to me, it's helpful. It may not be for everybody. For me, it's helpful. Like when I'm getting triggered, I sit with the feeling, but I do kind of want to, because I want to heal it. And I want to say, okay, I'm going to sit with this. It's super uncomfortable. I don't want to feel it. You want to run away from it because you don't want to suffer, right? But this is like self-inflicting suffering so you can get to the other side of it. to feel the emotion. And I like to know where I'm feeling, where it's stemming from, because that way I say, okay, I know why it's coming from. You know, I'm the youngest of 3 siblings. By 6 or 7 years, I was never heard. Everything, you know, the oxygen was consumed by my older siblings. I was like off to the side. And so, you know, it was kind of like, you know, it all comes down to the worthiness of, you know, and you're competing with attention, right? For the family attention. So it becomes something that I want to heal this, and I want to get, you know, I want to get to the other side. So for me, it helps to understand where it's coming from. And it's not an easy thing to do, because you really have to sit with it and look at your past and see, you know, that pain come up and say, okay, all right, now I get it. Because otherwise you just kind of say, I'm sitting with it, I'm sitting with it. And I'm not, you know, I've never gone to counseling or psychology, but if a lot of self-reflection or journaling is helpful to process all of that. So
The one thing I would say, Michelle, is even to do that, you have to have enough presence power. You have enough presence power to do the self-evaluation and say, where does this, most pain bodies are so unconscious that once the pain body takes over, we see this in riots, right? I was explaining in one of the group meditation, or like one person throws a rock at the window and another person, look, is what is it, January 6th, what happened?
Oh.
It's like one person doing one thing, another person pooping, another person taking a flag or something, right? The unconscious just escalates, like the pain body feeds into another pain body. And all we saw, you know, actually, if Eckhart was in front of Congress or something, he would say, it was just pain bodies taking over. All January 6th was pain bodies talking to each other and taking over, right? It wasn't them. They did not actually do it, because once they come to their senses, once the pain body, the effect of the pain body goes away, then you come to your senses, right? Oh, I shouldn't have done that, right?
yeah.
So I kind of think that you have enough. That's the incredible part, that everyone that is here at least has enough awareness to examine their pain body. One of the things that came to me while April was talking was, but I didn't want to prolong the conversation because I wanted to give Marla a chance to speak, was that Kim Ing had a heavy pain body. So she has told us in so many talks, and so many, whenever she gives a talk, she talks about she would have this heavy pain body and all Eckhart would do is leave. Right? And then she would call him after her pain body would subside. She would call him and he would go, yes, I'll be home. And he would come back home. Right? So the do's and don'ts. So the do is, if you are encountering a friend that is having a heavy pain body, all you can say is, I love you very much in this moment, but I don't think you're going to understand what I'm saying. So I'm going to leave and I'll see you again. I'll be there to see them again when their pain body subsides. You don't have to be around people that are in the effect of their heavy pain body, because look, Eckhart said as an example, right? What you can do is leave, because all you're going to do, like when that person is having that heavy pain body attack and you try to kind of convince them, hey, you're having they're not going to listen, and it's just going to escalate, right? And like Eckhart says, they'll throw things at you, they'll do things, be angry, verbal, they can be verbal abuse, verbally, language can be not something that they mean to say. They may say words that are very harsh and rude and cruel. So why do you want to be inflicted by verbal abuse from somebody that is under the attack of a pain body? So just leave, or understand if you're going to be standing there. And then I feel even the vibrational energy, you can feel the heaviness of their vibrational energy, right? And so you want to leave, you want to be away from that person, so that you want to move your body so that the energy moves. This reminds me of was it in A New Earth, where Eckhart explains that a woman released her pain body, and then he went to an Indian restaurant, and there was a guy in a wheelchair that that pain body got attached to Eckhart like a bubble. It was attached to Eckhart, and some guy who was in a wheelchair got really upset and rammed his wheelchair into the waitress. And the owner of the restaurant came over to Eckhart and looked at him as though he knew Eckhart did it. So that's how pain body is. It's just vibrational energy. And just because you are in pure presence does not mean that you're not going to be the one that is, it's almost like this COVID virus. Just because you're a person, you can be asymptomatic. You can have an asymptomatic pain body as well, right? You can be carrying it just because you were around people that had a heavy pain body. So one of the things that I have done is like at work, I put on this mantra meditation. I put on Eckhart's talk, right? Anything that brings me into presence power so that I can feel my presence. Or I'll put on the meditation music, the sacred acoustics meditation music while I work with this headset. And sure enough, the other person, or Sadhguru has this pain and suffering chant, Asatoma Sadgamaya. Even Lakshmi has chanted it. I don't know if she chanted it during our workshops, but there's one called Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritang Gamaya. And then at the very end, he says, Om Shanti, 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 which is peace, peace, peace. And that's like he does it 108 times. And the moment I would put that on, within 5 minutes, and I'm listening to it in my ear, in a noise canceling headset, that person is not listening to it, but they would calm down. They would definitely calm down. It's that amazing. The presence power that we can build is that amazing. So with that, you're good, Michelle. I can talk to Patricia. Patricia, you want to say something? You've been waiting for such a long time and you didn't interrupt us or ask anything, contribute anything.
I was really enjoying everybody's shares. It was such a great, again, another great two questions. And like you mentioned, they do seem have a lot intertwining in the answers, everybody's journey. So yeah, pain body, Eckhart describes it incredible. And I do believe it's his words, his way of describing this particular human condition. So we all humans. So it's a condition of us here on earth to experience the pain body. And I guess the extent to which we have them depends on our journey and how much we can heal it and how soon we get acquainted with it in awareness to try to actually recognize it. And it's not taking it personally. It's just something that comes with the territory of being a human, because I don't believe tree or a dog has a pain body. It's actually that human condition. And I really like how he explains it, because it gives you that perspective that you can disconnect from it and do and don'ts in the relationships. So I think that do for me, it was came out, it's be thankful for it. When it comes out, it's again a message of something that we can heal and be patient and be present, observe and accept. Even with the other person, it's because I think we talked about this too in previous Q&As, that if it's something arise and I see it, it's almost like a mirror, right? So if I see something a pain body in some other person and I recognize it and it bothers me, like it triggers me, it kind of something that I have it here in me to deal with. So the other person is actually helping me to get back into myself and really seeing what is it there that I need to heal. And we read the book Untethered Soul. So every time something like that, it's that energy stuck in the heart. So we do need to release it. Marla said, yes, it's like a volcano erupt. We need to let it out. We will survive. Like originally, that when the pain body started, especially if it's something fresh from our lifetime, we already survived it. So reliving it, it cannot be more, but we need to relive it, be aware of it coming up to release it, and that energy stuckness. And Eckhart did say in many times that that's an energy formation. And we are energy. So there is that energy that just needs to be released and go back, and not trying to pretend that it's not there, or trying to take drugs to stop from feeling it, because that's not gonna help on the long run. It's just gonna create more and more, and it's gonna keep coming back stronger to really shake us, because the purpose of our being here is to be conscious. So, right, life will give us experiences, other humans on our path, and experiences to make us conscious. That's the pure purpose. And as far with done on like a human level, I would say don't expect anything from another person, or even from yourself. Just no expectations, no judgments, not attaching a story. Even the simple one, someone didn't return my call. My pain body that I was abandoned, let's say, would say, oh my God, nobody loves me. Here I am alone. What's the point? Like, right? The whole story. And a pure thing is like, okay, that's a story that's coming up, but just they didn't call. I mean, right? Stick to the fact. And no blaming. Blaming is huge. Blaming and complaining. That's like biggest symptoms of pain bodies. Just blaming and complaining. The minute you feel like blaming someone, or it's somebody's fault or my fault, that's something pain body. It's to look at. The same in complaining or blaming, any of those. Because the present moment is perfect. It actually, the whole universe made it happen just the way it is. So trying to complain about it or blaming someone else for why it is, that's right there, the pain body coming up. It's like, okay, let me look at it. And just being grateful, because that means, it's an opportunity to be aware. And that's really what we're here for. As far as dealing with the feelings, and I think that was, I don't know who said that 16-second rule, kind of, that it is energy in motion, and
Abraham
everything
Hicks.
that
Abraham
comes
Hicks.
out. So once we use it as a tool, so whatever, we mostly worried about negative emotions. I mean, if you're happy, not worry about it. You don't want to get rid of it. You want to stay. But if you are, that negative emotion is coming up, something is unpleasant, like you're feeling in your body, maybe that 16-second rule, try to really sit with it for 60, and then it will just dissolve. The wave will dissolve. And then we can move on. So instead of feeding it, and the story about two wolves, bad wolf and good wolf fighting in what wolf's gonna win. It's the one that you feed. So if we feeding the negative, if we feeding the fear, it's all about consciousness, right? We watching a lot of movies that are violent and bringing that in us, we feeding it. So it's the same with Thich Nhat Hanh's theory. He said that we have all seeds in us, seeds of happiness, seeds of fear, seeds of despair. So if they come up, there's techniques to just not feed the ones that will bring us down, but it's all about raising vibrations and stuff. So for me personally, my lesson with pain body from the beginning, and then also addictions, is trying to fit in. And the more I try to fit in, the more I try to have beard as a teenager, the more I, going outside for parties, be smoking. I try also, marijuana too. Every single thing made me sick physically. I was even joking to my friends, I can't even be an addict, because if I try to drink 2 beers, I'm going and, throwing up. If I have cigarette, I'm just getting sick. It's like my body was telling me very early, this is not the way. And I needed to listen. But it took years, trying almost different things to say, listen to your body. You are, that meditation we had last week, unique, pure, and authentic. You don't have to get approval by doing what everybody's doing if it's not right for you. Having that awareness, that being comfortable in your body, because I knew it was bad for me to have a cigarette. I didn't want it. It smelled disgusting. My hair is like, but everybody smoked. So like I had to, smoke. And it always backfired. It very soon, I was lucky. So I never went to any length of addiction, but I think my addiction was more emotional, was, that clinging for approval. I was going for certain, feeling. And even my ex-husband mentions, like, I have to, you keep coming for fights. You starting the fights for me to yell at you, because you feel love if someone yell at you, because was what my father did. He was yelling, he was criticizing. So I was getting attention. That was him. So yeah, that was, I think in old psychology, it was called codependence. So I was looking, which is a pain body, I guess, for someone that would reenact the same situation as I had, as a child. And if I was not getting it, I would do something to make him, yell at me. That was, or have an argument about something, because I knew his buttons. So I would push his buttons to get there. It was just fascinating how human body, and that was being very unconscious. And the relationship had to end, because not like in Michelle's case, we couldn't help each other, even though I chose him because I thought we had very similar experiences growing up. We had very narcissistic fathers. So we shared that understanding, but I guess we couldn't help each other because none of us had the experience of how it is growing up in a whole home. So we couldn't be coaches for like he couldn't fill my empty spaces with insights and I couldn't his. We were just magnifying each other's pain bodies because we were too similar, maybe. So that was my thing. And that neti technique. So it came up when we were talking about the addictions and stuff. It's like trying everything. I'm not it. And with pain body, something real arising with the pain body, realizing that I'm not it. Netty stuff. So, and compassion. I loved when we talked about, when you guys, I think Marla said compassion. It's like, yes, the pain body and all the addictions and everything. And when we go through it ourselves and then come out, we can be so much more of use and service to people that are in the beginning of that journey and help them through it, to like speed up a little bit. So instead of them going the opposite, becoming more unconscious, we can show them the way toward consciousness through our compassion, because we were there. I don't think anybody who did not go through this can understand. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Patricia. Since I'm talking to you, I got reminded that since Patricia and I follow medical medium, according to medical medium, the reason why addiction exists is the environmental toxins and pathogens in our environment are heavy, and the younger generation all the more whoever followed Sadhguru and his Save Soil movement, even Sadhguru. So there's Anthony William, medical medium, saying this, that our soil does not have enough nutrients. We are low on zinc, we are low on vitamin C.
All the pesticides and GMOs and everything is just killing them. Yeah.
All the fish that is full of radiation in the ocean.
Mercury.
Mercury and radiation. So all the fish that people are consuming is contaminated. So he's saying that. And then Sadhguru for the past 30, 40 days had this campaign about safe soil, that the
regeneration, right? Regeneration of soil.
Top 12 inches of the soil is so depleted that within, so we're saying, Summer is talking about the generation now. Think about 20 years from now, if the soil still stays depleted. Now maybe 10% of the younger generation is addicted, then there'll be 30-40% of humans on this
There's
planet.
an entire universe of microorganisms that we rely. Even Kelly's on Facebook, when she posted about, she learned something that half of us, we have how many billion cells, and the same amount of billion organisms live in us that make us. So we are really just 50% human. The rest of us, it's really the entire universe of microorganisms that without which we will not live. And the same is, I believe, in the planet, right? They're all in the soil. Without the microorganism feeding from roots, the life would not exist.
Love you too, Marla. Thank you so much. Feel better soon. Thank you. So what Anthony Williams says is you have to cleanse the heavy metals. And Caesar, I would say do the heavy metal detox smoothie if you've had 20 years. He says that about pharmaceutical drugs and antibiotics, whatever we've taken, even Advil, if you've taken, right? Cleanse your metal toxins, because 10 years from now, 20 years from now, that's what leads to dementia and Alzheimer's. And if you've had that in your family, you're already, your proclivity is to have that dementia, right? So the more you cleanse, the more you will heal. And Louise and I agree on, and Louise is online. So Louise and I, we feel our spiritual practice, and you've noticed this about me, right, Caesar? Like there's a change just because the diet so supports the spiritual practice. The fact that we are eating, like today both Patricia and I don't drink coffee, no kind of chocolate or anything, right? Nothing is stimulating us. All I had was spinach soup, and I've not had enough sleep. I've had 5 hours of sleep, and I'm still going, and it's whatever 8, 9 o'clock at night, right?
Yeah, you have clean energy. Yes, that it's like higher vibration versus the one that brings you down, like getting heavy because you're acidic and toxic and you can't even move because nothing is just flowing.
I would strongly recommend, like, if anybody has youngsters, right? Like, if she's talking about 20-year-olds, if anybody has 20-year-olds, get them into the lemon water, like, get them on celery juice, get them on the cleanse, do the heavy metal. Yeah, they may eat the cheese and whatever diet they may eat, but at least get them the heavy metal detox smoothie right into their diet.
I'm
so that-
begging my child to start lemon water and she says yes, and then she doesn't, and she lies to me. Forget about celery juice. She will fight me to the end, and
You
then
can do it when she's at home. Whenever she's at home, when you're drinking it, you give her one glass and say, "Hey, go
I
ahead."
would have to pay her, I think, $100.
Yeah, say I'll pay you 100. The other part I wanted to say, which is a point that Caesar brought up. Caesar brought up that, yeah, we see these addictions, but we don't see the addiction of food. We don't see the addiction to retail therapy, right? That is an addiction as well. Um, as far as addiction to food is concerned, I had on PBS, there was this neuroscientist that was, I think it's Golden Compass or something. Years ago, I heard about a book. And so I bought it on audiobook and I listened to it. And what he says that the pleasure centers that drugs, like this in the prefrontal cortex, there's a pleasure center that the drugs stimulate, right? But that same pleasure center is stimulated by sugar. That same pleasure center is stimulated by, Taco Bell seasoning. That is what McDonald's and Taco Bell, all of these companies pay. It's called, what is it? Like the natural flavors, like they pay companies to play with the chemicals that they put in the food so
Mhm.
that the food causes addiction. Like the Taco
I know that
Bell
high fructose corn syrup is highly addictive.
and high fructose corn syrup is highly addictive. So look at those kind of things, right? Are we addicted to sugar? Leave alone the ayahuasca
I
and
don't think
mushrooms.
we're addicted to sugar because Anthony Williams, the medical media, mentioned that we need glucose to live. Our
I'm
brain
talking about the
needs
white
to.
sugar,
Right.
addicted to white
So
sugar, where people are
right. If
eating cake and icing, and I want my ice cream. I want to have my chocolate bar, whatever it may be. The addiction to, I used to have it.
right.
So I know.
So if you don't eat the right glucose, which is in fruits and vegetables, then your body will want that fix. It's almost, it has to have it because it can't function without it. So it's all about knowing which ones are good for us.
So you can cleanse. You don't have to be addicted. You can, even if your 20-year-old is addicted, you can work through it, right? Take them through rehab, whatever it may be, but you need to cleanse you can take them to an integrative. If you don't want to believe Anthony William, you can take them to what is called functional medicine or integrative medicine doctor and have them treat the person, right?
What happens, Poonam, with that is that, like, I think that Marla mentioned today about today's society needs instant gratification. So that's what I think all the addictions does. Like if you eat a cake, you feel immediate, rush, or you take drug or whatever. With natural medicine or medical medium, it takes years. You're feeling better right away, but it's not instant fix. you have to continue to do it like totally, and it takes time because it took 40 years, 50 years to get us to the point when we are.
But they're 20 something, right? They're not 50 years of
But that's why they don't feel like, they feel like they're invincible and they will, immortal. So what are you
Pharmac-
talking about? Like, give me an Advil, I have a pain, give me an Advil, the quick fix within 15 minutes, I'm good, I don't have a headache anymore.
then
So
I would strongly, Anthony William is actually coming out with Brain Saver and Brain Saver protocol. And he said he has like 10 different recipes for heavy metal. I will let you know, Caesar, what those recipes are, because I would strongly, and that's what I'm doing, because I've had,
Caesar,
used to
you live in Detroit, right? That's right there. I think a lot of, all the car industry and everything is in the air for years, right? Poonam, all the toxins. Wow. That's a very industrial place, even to just, yeah.
So I am one that has had so much coffee in my life. I've also done, because I was a single mom and I used to work late, I used to do the Monster, the Red Bull, right? Whatever the energy drinks are, because we used to work all night. There were times that we worked all night. We used to travel to places. I've been to Detroit, travel to places and then work, like maybe start Friday morning, work all night until Saturday morning, get 2 or 3 hours of sleep, then start again, work. We were doing migrations. So it was insane pace, right? And we are young. When we are young, we do those kind of things. We don't. So that's another reason why I'm cleansing is, and want to stay with the protocol, is because I know what I did to my body when I was younger. I mean, I may not have done alcohol and LSD or smoking, but I've done enough damage, and pharmaceuticals as well, right? Like antibiotics, we've taken Advil, we've taken Tylenol, so many drugs. So that all that needs to come out of our body.
And also just simple stress, growing up and having to run away from everybody you knew. There's a lot of the adrenal, remember, the constant stress, fight and flight, your body's releasing all the adrenal, then it has to do something with it. So it starts as a toxic, in your organs. So it's not even food, it's just psychological, abuse.
Mhm.
And I think there's a lot of sensory abuse now with this generation, that the social media and all the, we're taking in so much information that I don't think that, our systems can really effectively detoxify from all of that. What that's doing to us sensory and emotional. I think that
and
takes a
also
heavy
about
toll.
the radiation from phones and stuff. I mean, we live with this constantly on us, and they already made some research that how it completely creates the magnetic field, that it's not that great for our bodies and brain. So
that's why I don't use the Bluetooth, like I don't put battery around my ears. Like I always do the wired headset. I wouldn't put Bluetooth in my ears, like the iPod, the earpods. I wouldn't.
yeah, I don't like anything in my ears either. Yeah, it's hard for me.
I just watched a study on the frequencies radiating from your cell phone. Within 5 feet of your head changes the brainwave activity, and that quadruples when it's plugged in. So if your phone is plugged in, keep it 10 feet away from you. Don't be on it while it's charging. It was like pretty crazy to watch.
And because we don't see it, it's like with bacteria. We don't see it, we think it doesn't exist, right? We don't realize how it affects us because we don't see it. Not here.
You don't see it.
Awesome. We've talked for a long time today. let's end it at this point. I know it's getting very late for people on the East Coast, which is, I don't know if Michelle is on the East Coast, but I know Caesar and
Yeah, I'm
Sri
at-
Lakshmi and you're on the East Coast. So for all of you, so infinite gratitude that y'all stayed so late. So thank you so much. And for everyone, Louise and Christina and Cecile, where Summer was online. So infinite gratitude that it's an incredible session, right? So many
As always,
blessings.
thank you, Poonam.
always.
for-
Thank you. Thank
Much
you,
love.
Pumanji. Thank you.
Have a good night. Many
Good night.
blessings. Bye.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good night.